Welcome everybody to Spark Conversations. I'm Kyle Page. I'm here with my guy Al Kamara, Natalie, and Readers in the Shadows. What's up?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Living life, living life.
Hi guys. How's everyone doing today?
There's a little bit of changes that we're starting to see going around. What are some changes that you guys seen so far?
I definitely do feel like there's a lot of change happening here locally, like in Jersey and the tri-state area. At starting from like 5 years to now, I mean, it's a completely different area. Cannabis is legal. That was not a thing a few years back. So I feel like in 2024, a lot of things are actually coming together because a lot of things have been in the works for so long, and so we're seeing the results of all the hard work.
Let's get into that. We have craft cannabis coming up right now, which I'm truly excited for that. And for New Jersey, because I think that there's nothing wrong with what the MSOs have done. I think that they laid down some good strategy and work, but that was for us local people and local growers to show what we can do and what kind of different flavors we can bring to the table.
There's starting to be a lot more advocates out now. Like we're starting to see a lot more people advocating for cannabis now that it's starting to be more legal. There's I feel like there's going to be a lot more pioneers when it comes to the cannabis advocacy lane. I feel like there's still a lot of people that are still trying to search what cannabis is and how they can consume it the best way for themselves. So that's another thing that's actually starting to be a lot popular too. Education. We're starting to see a lot more people in the cannabis industry last year starting to take the initiative to be leaders now. I see a lot of entrepreneurs trying to be a part of programs that help people to you know get knowledge from what the plant actually really is. So I think that's pretty dope too. And I'm really proud of my black and brown people, because I feel like we're definitely stepping up, especially in New Jersey.
Yo, you know what's crazy is I was just watching a friend of mine who's an advocate out of South Carolina. He was just advocating to get it legalized in South Carolina, or at least like get it decriminalized or that type of thing, or whatever he was trying to do. But the point of me telling you all this is that there was a guy on there who was his opposition, and this is what the opposition said. He said that indicas and recreational weed is the stuff that makes all the hippies and everybody else get crazy, and sativa is the only one that has medical properties. I want y'all to digest what this man said, and then let's go ahead and dissect the stupidity and ignorance in that comment. Yeah.
First of all, where did he get his knowledge from? Let's start off with that. You
So
can't.
this
You
man
can't.
was
Sativa isn't that based on the gender? Is that not based on? I'm sorry, I don't know. Am I wrong or?
no, indicas and sativas are just they're two different families of the cannabis plant, and they come from two different regions of the world, which is why they grow in different ways. But um, the properties of which will give, like, sativas are most likely going to give you the terpenes, which are going to give you the head high, the awake, that smack. And then the indicas are more likely to be the ones who give you the terpene, more high in terpenes that give you that laid back, that nightcap at night. So, but with all different cross straining and hybrids and everything else, I mean, you can have an indica that still gives you some properties of a sativa, depending on how far the terpene has developed in that particular strain or phenotype. But I think that, and the reason I brought that up is because I think that it shows what we're facing when we're going at legislation. We still have a lot of people that have this mentality that, that old reefer madness mentality. These people believe that, just like that man said, he believes that um, indica and recreational, which, I mean, understand what he's saying. Indica
So
and
all recreational. He thinks that all recreational marijuana, but do they not? When you go to dispensary, they sell you the same weed when you're medical or recreational, right?
true,
If
but you're dealing with somebody who's ignorant to that fact, and you're also dealing with somebody who's been given misinformation for years and years. This was an older gentleman, very older gentleman, probably close to about 70 years old. And so what he knows about cannabis, what he knows about it, first of all, he calls it marijuana, which we all know is a derogatory term for the Mexican people that were down there and, first introduced it to the American I'm gonna call them Americans immigrants because they were immigrants to this country. So you're talking about somebody with that type of mentality. You're talking about somebody who's never really even got into the biology or the science of the plant, nor the medicinal properties of it. He doesn't even know the difference between an indica or sativa. You know what I mean? So
Marijuana became illegal in 1937, right?
somewhere around, I don't know the exact date, but you might be more on top of that than me.
That sounds about right, somewhere around there.
I'm just trying to understand the timeline.
I mean, you got to figure 1937. I mean, this guy probably was born.
Probably around that time that he was. My
He,
grandpa was born in 1944, and he's 83.
you know what I'm saying? He might have been born around that time, the 40s or the 50s, where misinformation and ignorance was extremely strong when it comes to the cannabis plant. So he still carries those type of thoughts, you know what I mean? And it's misinformation, which it's good for us to know this. And I don't want to put the gentleman down because he might be a very nice gentleman, but just ignorant to what goes on with the cannabis plant. It is kind of funny, though, that somebody would think something like that, and we will laugh about it. It is what it is. But we are up against people whose mentalities are that, and their information is that. So it's our job to act as the bridges of information for people who don't know. It doesn't matter whether they want to try it or not, but we do need to be giving that information out so we can kill the negative information that's been put out for so many years about the cannabis plant.
So how do you guys feel about the whole descheduling? Like, how do you guys feel about it? The whole Biden administration, how do you guys feel about the whole situation?
I feel like Biden only did it for votes. I feel like he did it for because he ain't did nothing the whole time.
Whoever it is, we don't know if it's really Biden up there. Whoever's making the decisions, because it ain't him. But I think that they wanted the young vote, and the young vote is pro cannabis, and they want something that is going to make a little bit of difference. So it looks good on their behalf, but it's not something that is actually beneficial to society, really, because there's still people incarcerated.
I think really what we need is descheduling, but we also have to take it one step at a time because once again we're dealing with the same type of people that
Yeah.
think that indica and recreational is what hippies and other people get crazy on. So you have to do this step by step. You know what I mean? You can't rip the band-aid off of older and very conservative type America. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is, and I think it's a positive thing. I'm optimistic about the future though.
Cannabis was in the same category as heroin. So a lot of people that don't consume cannabis or don't participate had this idea that, when you smoke it or take it, that it's like taking heroin. Same. So I think that for a long time, people were seeing it that way. And now it's like, okay, we don't have to see it that way. There's studies proven that it's not as dangerous as it was being portrayed to us.
This is one of those situations where I know you guys heard that saying, like, give them a little bit, but don't give them too much so they can just come back for more. I feel like that's what the Biden administration is kind of doing. They spoke about, descheduling cannabis since Biden's been in office, and they decide to do it around this time when they know that, they're campaigning and they need as much votes as possible.
So voting for the
Right.
opposition party.
It's definitely not a coincidence, but we got to celebrate our wins as much as possible, so I mean that is one step forward to our advocacy work meaning something out here. But at the same time, just don't try to get too distracted by the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in all reality, we just have a lot of more work to do. But I think that we've made some big steps. I'm very proud of everybody been a part of the advocacy, everybody that's been supportive. And then, I mean, and also proud of the legislators for actually taking a step, because we know that this was huge and it was a long time coming. For them to even admit, for the DEA to admit that, okay, it does have medicinal properties, and to drop it down to a Schedule 3, that's a big move for, for everything, for that organization, for the country. So I think that we should take all of this for the positive, and let's continue with the momentum and move forward.
And how do you feel about home grow in general? Like, do you feel like people should have the right to grow their own medicine at home other than rely on, medical and recreational dispensaries? Like, what's your take on it?
I'm kind of on the fence about home grows because if there is a way for people to get maybe a certificate so they're doing it safely and they're not because there's a lot of things that come with growing plants indoors if you're going to do it indoor, electricity and things like that. I think that if people could have accessibility to do it the correct way and the government kind of know that they're kind of doing it, I think that would be better. Because if you're going to regulate cultivations that are licensed by the state, why don't you regulate people that want to grow it at home if it's such an issue? So that's how I feel about it. I think that if there was some sort of regulation to it, or maybe even some sort of education behind it, where people, if they do want to grow their own medicine, they would have to kind of learn a little bit about growing plants at home or whatever they want to do. And I think that would be a solution to that problem. But until then, I don't know why there is even a restriction on that, because in reality, you should be able to grow whatever you want on your land. But
I agree on certain points. I think that I mean, of course, I think that there should definitely be some caps on it, just because you don't want people getting too crazy, or what I mean, like the wrong type of growing it for the wrong type of reasons. But I think that everyone should be able to grow their own. I don't think that how much electricity or anything that you use should be even involved in that, because you pay your electric. On top of that, we do that already with like microgreens and tomatoes and such.
no, I just mean that people don't know the proper, like, for example, if you put all this lighting and the heat that it creates, that can create a fire, or you know what I mean? A lot of things, technicalities that people just think it's putting a seed in a thing in a pot and growing the plant, and it's just not that simple. So
But I think that if somebody tries it that, they're gonna fail, and they're gonna learn that you have to do it another way. So I don't think that you're just gonna like mess anything up. But I do think that there needs to be some type of a guidelines for the grow. I think that we need to be careful of people that are putting way too many heavy chemicals or metals into the grow. And I think that also too, just like you said, Natalie, I think education is key. Teaching people exactly how to do that. We should be, us people like me and Al and other people who Sam, who's my partner, I think that we should be giving this information out. Like maybe even in the future we can have where we are doing tutorials for grows. But I think that it takes people who've actually done it to actually give that information out. I don't think that we should be gatekeeping that information.
But if they have like strict guidelines for, let's just say, medical patients that that actually do use it for medical purposes, maybe they can apply for license, or people in the gray market that are actually supplying people with medical conditions, they could apply for it. And that structure, then yeah, I definitely do agree with what you said, Kyle. But I do feel like,
Affect the gray market, because the gray market is going to be the gray market no matter what. I don't care what kind of legalization you put in place. There's people that's just not going to get a license. I know people like that. Like I'm not paying the government a permit to grow something that my family's been growing for 3 generations. There's people, I know people that'll tell you that right now. They're like, I'm just not doing it. And so, and then also too, I've seen like in certain different states they'll have like a collect. I'm a medical patient. I can grow 6 plants or whatever the case. I'm just making up a number. 6 plants per patient that I have that's a part of my collective, and I can give to them. So there's many different frameworks around the country that we do have. It's just that New Jersey needs to pull the trigger on it. And the reason that we're not pulling the trigger on it is because you have people lobbying against it. People who are making money on the cultivation dispensaries out of there. This
Mm.
all breaks down to money like everything else in America. It all breaks down to money. Once we
Right.
have money right, everything else will be right. And at the end of the day, bro, we have liquor companies, big liquor companies. You still have people that make moonshine. So you're never going to stop people from making what they want. What we do is put the guidelines in place and hope that some people fall in line, but the people that's going to be out of line, they're going to be out of line no matter what.
Right.
That's human nature.
Did you see how they seized, I don't know how much it was, but it was recently in California. I don't know if it was from illegal grows or just from the illegal market in general, but it was a lot of marijuana seized, and they're actually getting much more um they're getting much more strict with the illegal market because it's just saturating the legal market. It's becoming a problem.
But
Am I
that's
lucky?
but that's also my point too. Like if they're seizing cannabis from people growing it inside of their houses, right? Don't you think that it'll be a lot more lenient if it was actually legal for them? Like if it like since it's illegal right now, and there's still people getting arrested for outside grows growing in their houses and stuff like that. If they actually legalize home grow, or you can grow X amount of plants, that would decrease how many people are actually getting arrested and flower being seized. But at the same time, it is also messed up too, because you know that can saturate every market. And then the cannabis industry would just be like any other industry at the end of the day. So I feel like there's its pros and its cons in it.
Like
But
anything.
it's right that I have to go get a license to grow marijuana or cannabis, and someone else can go in their house and they have a 30-acre farm and they have a weed farm in between everything, and they're gonna disperse it to the illegal market. Like, just because they have something that says they can grow weed, yeah, it says probably not that much, but they're just running with it. Or there's a lot of people that say they're growing CBD and are actually growing weed.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like,
Yeah, I think if you grow at home, I don't think they'll technically give you a license. I think it would just be like some papers, just like how you got to show papers before law enforcement enters your house. If they say they got a warrant, like they got to show papers or something like that. It'll be something like that.
okay.
All right, y'all. So thanks again for sitting in on another one with Spark Conversations. Thank you for Natalie, Al, everybody at Spark Down, all my people in the cannabis community from here, New Jersey, all the way to Cali. Peace.